for everybody here. And hang on, that's all right. And there's a lot of videos from this year on our account that you can go back and get it. Every single chapter, every single section, the meditations, even the charts at the end. So it's been a really exciting year. And what I decided to do, this is my last talk of 2021. And what I decided to do for this talk was to do a really short talk about the 3 selections in this book that have really impacted me the most over the years. I mean, it's hard to say because it is, you know, my copy is just packed and underlined and highlighted, as I'm sure many of yours are. But if I had to break it down and say, what are the most important things from this book that I've gotten, these are the 3 that I came up with. And I'm going to share them with you today. I've shared a few talks ago, I talked about when I first discovered the Science of Mind philosophy and first found it at Mile High Church in Denver, and how exciting it was. It was just like unbelievable, this whole different way of thinking from what I had grown up as an evangelical, and you know, having that whole mindset of that, and then just being introduced to something that was so different. Going from duality to oneness is a huge mind shift, because it means going from that petitioning and begging and feeling worthless to feeling empowered and feeling one and feeling full of life. I don't have to be less than, I can actually continue to be more than I ever thought I could be. And it means going from fearful and retribution to freedom. And that's how it felt. It felt like freedom. And it's the whole concept of oneness is the single most important concept of the Science of Mind. That is concept number 1 that you learn. It's literally in the first chapter, which we'll be covering in January. So that was the first thing that really got me. But the part of the book, the textbook, that really honed that in for me, and for those of you who have your textbook with you, it's on page 33. And it's 4 words. And I have it highlighted. Let's see if you can see it right there. I don't know if it's going to come in. Those 4 words are: God is always God. I mean, I just get goose pimples saying that. God is always God. That one line, those 4 words, really encapsulates the entire message of oneness. That idea that there is nothing else but this. There is nothing else but this one power. There's not 2 powers. There's not a this and a that. There's just one. God is always God. And in this day and age when everything feels like it's moving so fast and it's changing, God is always God. You know, I always think that we think that things are the hardest they've ever been in history, but I think that every generation feels that way. When I think that we think that, then I think back at the generations during World War II and how they must have felt that was the hardest time in history. Arguably, it probably could have been. And when the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, can you imagine just how impactful and how much that changed the world? And yet, even in those darkest moments of our history, God is always God. That's really unbelievable. It's really powerful, and it roots us in something so much deeper than what's going on around us. It's so easy to get caught up in what is happening around us, and yet this is the one concept that we base our entire philosophy on. And also, God is always God has another aspect to it, which is eternity. You know, we're in the temporary moment, We're in that moment now where we're in our skin and bones, we're alive, we're having this experience, this earthly experience, but there's an eternity to life, an eternity to energy. And that eternity is hard for our human brains to fathom. But Ernest Holmes got it in 4 words. God is always God. And that is something that I was constantly moving when I was switching from duality thinking into this oneness thinking. I always had to go back to, right, it can't be any other way. It either is this or it's nothing. Because God is always God, or what the hell is happening here? You know, it really just is such a bedrock moment. And if you listen to the rest of that paragraph, just listen to this. He says, God is always God. No matter what our emotional storm or our objective situation may be, there is always a something hidden in the inner being that has never been violated. We may stumble, but always there is an eternal voice forever whispering in our ear, that thing which causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings. Man, I can't tell you how many times I have read that paragraph over the years, and it has helped me to remember and to switch over, that when I get caught up in the news or I get caught up in the temporal of my life, to just go back to, wait a second. There is an eternal quest. God is always God, and it is forever singing in me, and I can follow that, and I can believe it, and I can rely on it. So that's principle 1. Principle 2, so that's at the beginning of the book. Principle 2 is right here in about the middle. If you're following along, it's on page 399. So back when I first started learning the science of mind, like any new skill, I was a little wobbly. It takes practice, right? It takes practice to really come into this idea and this practice that we are each 100% responsible for our own lives, and that we have a power that we don't have to petition to, but rather we can intelligently use it through the creative process that Ernest Holmes outlines in the Science of Mind. It takes practice to do that. And Ernest Holmes was always clear that a philosophy, any philosophy, is no good unless it improves your life, unless it makes your life better, unless you can manifest positive results. It's no good. Otherwise, why have it? And Ernest Holmes says that we should use the philosophy with total and complete confidence. No timidness, no hesitation, no need to wish and hope. We should use it with confidence. And on page 399, he says this: we should be careful to distinguish daydreaming and wistful wishing from really dynamic and creative treatment. When we treat, of course, treatment being our form of positive prayer, when we treat, we do not wish, we know. And he puts that in capital letters. He puts these in capital letters. We do not dream, we state. We do not hope, we accept. We do not pray, we announce. We do not expect that something is going to happen. We believe that it has already happened. I mean, that is that feeling, that sense of we have a deservability that very few of us want to open up to until we totally get this concept of oneness. And when we do, we can go forward and we can know and accept and state and announce and believe that it has already happened. We don't have to step quietly and timidly. In my old way of thinking, I would always have to hope I was doing the right thing, so I wasn't on the naughty list, I was on the nice list. But this is a whole different way of being. It's saying that we are deserved because we are one with the oneness that created us. And through this oneness, we don't have to worry and wonder and wish and hope. Remember that song from the 60s, wishing and hoping and do-do, do-do-do. We don't have to do that. We can actually just move right forward into a form of a state of confidence that allows us to say, wait a second, if this is true, and I believe it is true, and I accept it as true, and I allow it to be true for me, then I move forward with confidence. And I'm empowered in this truth, and I let it be true. I use this section, page 399, frequently when I find myself playing small. I'm sure none of you guys play small. Has anybody here played small and accepted less than what you wanted, accepted less than what you think is true for you, accepted less than what you believe you deserve or want or love? But the more confident I am, the more life seems to move with me. So for example, if you remember, there's no reason for you to remember off the top of your head, but like 4 years ago, I gave a talk about moving from a job that I had 21 years and knowing, coming to the place of knowing that I was complete, knowing, not worrying, not confused, not, oh gosh, and if, but knowing and believing these concepts to be absolutely true. And I stepped out, leaving them, knowing that my best life was made manifest. I used this paragraph to know that I could just accept it to be true, and it already was true. That's what Ernest Holmes was trying to get us to say. It already was true in the concept of mind. I had to allow myself to receive it. And as many of you might remember from the story, I quit that morning. Only 2 people in the entire world knew I had done that, me and the person I had just resigned to. No one else in the whole world. And that afternoon, out of the blue, I get a call from another company I had never talked to, never heard, from, saying, I don't know why we're calling, but might you consider coming to us if? They had no idea, but God did, life did, I did, and I was confident, and it was a quiet confidence. I didn't have to go on Facebook and social media and say, I'm declaring this to be true. I just had to be it. I didn't have to go around and tell every neighbor and every single person all of this. I just was it. And by being it, life fitted itself around me and became true for me. So that's a very powerful, powerful paragraph to keep in your pocket. So page 33, God is always God. And page 399, we do not wish we know, we do not dream, we state, we do not hope, we accept, we do not pray, we announce, we do not expect something is going to happen, we believe that it has already happened. And lastly, the third part is the part I've probably, it's the section of the Science of Mind text that I've read the most in my life, and I've certainly read it to you guys several times over the years. And it's probably the part that I think has helped me the most over the years, but it also embodies those first 2 parts that I mentioned. And it's back in the section on meditations. The textbook at the end has a whole section of what Ernest Holmes called meditations. They're like little prayers, little treatments. And for some reason, this one just has spoken to me over the years, and I've used it all over the years. It's helped focus me and inspired me countless times. And I'm going to, before I read it to you in closing, I just wanted to actually call out a couple things about it first to tell you why I think it's so powerful and makes so much sense of the Science of Mind philosophy for us. In this, and it's on page 556, it's the meditation called The Gifts of God Are Mine Today. And in that section, he doesn't say life or the one mind. He actually uses kind of the old language for it. He calls spirit Father. Now, that's not to everybody's liking, and to be honest, for a while, for me, it was not to my liking either, but I came back to it. I like it. And by Father, he's not saying this thing outside of ourselves. I just want that to be really clear. He's not saying anything outside of ourselves. He's just referring to that part of ourselves that recognizes the divine inside of ourselves. So Father is not a father out there. It's that part of, it's that divine part of yourself that he just happens to be calling Father, in Hebrew, Abba. I mean, it really is in us, okay? And when he talks about Father, he's talking about the infinite oneness of spirit or of life. And then in that meditation, he says, what caused the appearance of lack in my life. So he's, this is a really great line. So let me just read it. What caused the appearance of lack in my life? Simply my fear or the belief that the Father could forsake me. Now, that line in particular, I think is important for our kind of Judeo-Christian outlook in life, because there is a part of us that really does have this wondering of, you know, oh gosh, do I have to, I have to make it all, do all the right things for things to be good for me. If not, life will forsake me somehow, I'll be punished. And he's kind of, what he's saying in the statement is, that's a limiting belief that we have, that we can be forsaken in any reason. And the next line he says is, I do not believe that now, and it no longer matters to me what the appearance of today or what has gone on before. That's another important line, because he's saying, first of all, we're not going to be forsaken by spirit, but second of all, the circumstances of life often overwhelm us. And we think that word that limits us every time, and it's one word with a question mark, which is how. How can I rise from this? How can I overcome this? How can my good come to me? How can anything change? But when we believe in the science of mind philosophy, we can let go of that nagging question, because we don't have to know the how. We can let go of it. And what he says is, it no longer matters to me what the appearance is of around me. It doesn't matter what the appearance is, because I can move through this. Today is new and I am newly awakened in it. So he's saying, instead of looking at the circumstances of your life, come back to what you know to be real in this present moment and go forth with it. It'll make more sense when I read the whole thing, but I just wanted to unpack those lines really quickly before we move into the treatment. These three ideas and concepts really have carried me over the years. And it's funny how this entire book has just a million ideas, but we take these things that really resonate with us and use them in practical ways to not just change our life in big ways, but to change our life every day in small ways, and allow it to just become us. God is always God. There's an eternal sense and truth about that. And there is only one power, and that we can just claim it, we can accept it, and we can believe it, that it is already true. And that the gifts of the Father, meaning the higher part of ourselves, the gifts are mine. When? Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. We can allow that to be true for us today. I would say, if we can allow these three things to really become our truth, can you imagine how different life is on a day-to-day basis? That's why it's so important that not only that we talk about it and that we practice it, but that we model it for other people, because there are a lot of people who just don't understand and see this amazing ability and freedom that is available to them. And as we model it, we become the touchstones for them, the helping hands for them, so that they in turn can also live their greater life. So with that, as our closing treatment, I'm going to read this section. And if you would just close your eyes, if you feel comfortable, and if you're not driving, and if you just soak these words in. And remember, when I say Father, we're talking about the spirit deep within. The gifts of God are mine today. It is the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom of heaven, or harmony and abundance. Today, he opens to me the blessings of his infinite and eternal treasure, inviting me to dip deeply into it. As I believe in my heart, so it is done unto me in all things. As I ask, so do I receive, a full measure unto my faith, pressed down and running over. These and other divine promises and assurances sing in me. The still small voice within reminds me that all that the Father hath is mine. This day, I listen deeply to that still small voice, and I believe its promises. I fear nothing, neither lack, limitation, disappointment, nor distress of any kind, for is not the Father always with me? What caused the appearance of lack in my life? Simply my fear, or my belief that the Father could forsake me. I do not believe that now, and it no longer matters to me what is the appearance of today or what has gone on before. Today is new, and I am newly awakened in it, and I believe with dauntless faith that my good, in full measure, comes to me from God today. I now believe that it is indeed the Father's good pleasure to give me of his bounty. I know that he gives as I ask without question or limit, and I am ready to receive. The gifts of God are mine today. And together we say, and so it is.
And so it is. And Joel, can I engage you for one moment?
Yeah.
These were excellent points. And, I appreciate you saying there are only 3 principles in here. So, but there are many principles in here.
Yes.
As I was going through the textbook this morning, reading through it, one of the things that I had not paid attention to, and this is in the 1998 paperback publication, is the foreword by Jean Houston.
Right.
And it's impactful, just her message. And the reason I bring that up is to let everybody know, moving into next year, 2022, our theme is going to be a year of connection, right?
Yes.
And if you've been with our center for at least 2 years, you've noticed that in the month of January, we cover the first 4 sections of the book, the thing itself, how it works, what it does, and how to use it. And we're going to do those sections in terms of, we're going to discuss those in terms of connecting.
Right.
So, Joel, what I'd like to do is place an invitation, and maybe you can back this up. I'll just say that if anyone here has any family or friends who say to you, what's this all about? What is this teaching about? What are the principles, right? Because Reverend Joel just pulled out 3 beautiful ones. Invite them for January. There's 5 weeks. There's 5 Sundays in January where we basically lay out the core of the teaching. Correct, Joel? Would you agree?
It's true. And what we're going to do this coming year that's a little different than what we've done in the past is in the past, when we've gone through those 4 chapters, we've gone through them meticulously, they're almost page by page, idea by idea, which is fantastic. And those are available probably on our website or YouTube channel. But this year, I think we're going to do it a little bit more broadly. We're going to talk about how to connect to these ideas and what connecting to these ideas mean, how they look. So when we say the thing itself, we're actually going to call it connecting to the thing itself, because the thing itself is an idea, but connecting to it makes it personal. And if we cannot make these ideas personal, if we can't make them practical so that they change our life, then as Ernest Holmes says, what good are they? So this coming year, we're going to try to make them much more personal and practical than we ever have before. And I'm not saying we haven't done that in the past, but we're gonna really concentrate and make that our goal. And there'll be shorter talks, and they'll be perfect for people that you might want to invite to, who are curious, or who you see might be feeling disenfranchised in their life, or feel like they don't belong anywhere. And as I learned from that very first time I attended this center, this is a center that hugs people as if they've known them their entire life. We are an accepting group, and it would be awesome to help other people have this sense of freedom that we have from this philosophy.
Right. So folks, and again, if you have the Joel, does this Gene Houston forward exist in other publications besides the 1998 version? Do you know?
No. Well, it is now published so there are two Science of Minds, a 1926 and a 1938. And when I actually published the 1938 edition, which is known as the official text, in paperback, I had asked Gene Houston to write a foreword for it. And Gene wrote that beautiful foreword. And I have to tell you, people in the Science of Mind community did not like, A, that I put it in paperback, and B, that I had invited Gene to write that foreword, because they said, this is Ernest Holmes. Why would you add anybody to this? And Ernest Holmes wanted it in hardcover. Why would you put it in paperback? And they were very resistant to change. But now, I think as people read what Gene said, she put the whole book in context in such a way. And I remember that she ends it by saying, she puts it into context, and she talks about how powerful the book is and how powerful the principles are, and how important it is for us to use them. And she ends by saying something like, these are the times, and this is the book, these are the times, and we are the people, or some, Neil, do you have it there?
Says, these are the times, we are the people. This is the book that can help us do it.
That's it. And, Gene, if any of you know Gene will tell you if that's not true. So when she says it, she means it. And she is brilliant. And it is, she's right though. This book is really more pertinent now than maybe ever before.
Yeah, if you want language on how to tell people how impactful this teaching is, this book is, it's there in that forward. So please invite your friends for January. Ask them to commit for the 5 Sundays in January. Let them find out really what a wonderful cult we are. So, all right. Thank you, Reverend Joel. That's fantastic.
Thank you, everybody.
Talk today. And now we're going to go to Beth and Clive.
All right. Hey, this is actually a perfect song to